Shakespeare's sonnets hide secrets scholars have debated for 400 years. Who is the fair youth? The dark lady? What forbidden love is encoded? Political messages, homoerotic love, and identities hidden by ambiguous pronouns. These aren't just poems. They're mysteries Shakespeare never meant us to solve.
Welcome to Shakespeare's Satchel. If you enjoy these journeys into the bard's world, please like and subscribe. Where are you listening from tonight? It's January 1572, and you're stepping into John Shakespeare's bustling workshop in Stratford-upon-Avon. A keen, biting cold nips at your exposed skin, a typical English winter chill that seems to seep into the very timbers of the Tudor house. The air inside is thick with a fascinating blend of aromas. The earthy, slightly sweet scent of dried malted barley, a testament to Master Shakespeare's thriving side business, mingles with the distinct, strong tang of raw animal hide. Underlying it all is the warm, musky smell of freshly worked leather, still supple from the widower's or white tanner's craft, a process using alum and salt to preserve and soften skins, especially deerskins, rather than bark. You watch as an apprentice, perhaps no older than 7-year-old William himself, strains to stretch a wet deerskin over a wooden beam, scraping away stubborn bits of flesh. His movements are practiced, though his breath still plumes in the cold air. John Shakespeare, a man of formidable presence and local repute, is bent over a sturdy oak workbench, meticulously cutting and stitching the fine leather into durable gloves, practical purses, or perhaps even a sturdy jerkin, a close-fitting jacket, for a local dignitary. This is the heart of his primary trade, the skilled craft of a master glover. He also deals in wool and grain, particularly malt, which is essential for brewing the small beer that was a daily staple for most Tudor families, a safer alternative to often contaminated water. This bustling, multifaceted enterprise supports not only John and his wife Mary, but their growing family, including young William. You notice a basket of dried lavender and rosemary near a small leaded glass window, a common practice to freshen the air in a home where everyday life, commerce and craft are intimately intertwined. The quality of the gloves and other leather goods produced here is well regarded, a source of steady income for the ambitious John Shakespeare, who holds various civic roles in this vibrant market town, even serving as high bailiff or mayor in previous years. The tools on the bench, awls, needles, sturdy shears, are well worn, testifying to years of dedicated labor. These are the textures and smells, the sights and sounds, that shaped young William's earliest perceptions, the practical, industrious world from which he would one day draw such rich inspiration for his vivid characters and settings. As the pale, weak afternoon light filters through the small panes, you realize how profoundly connected his childhood home was to the rhythms of commerce and craft. This was not merely a house, it was a living, breathing testament to the ingenuity and hard work that underpinned Elizabethan society. And in this very workshop, surrounded by the practicalities of making and trading, a future poet was quietly observing the world, absorbing the details that would later bring his characters to life with such vivid, enduring truth. The enduring echoes of a 1572 morning in Stratford remain, subtly woven into the fabric of his timeless words. The sun dips low, and the pale winter light that barely pierced John Shakespeare's workshop gives way to the deep hues of twilight on Henley Street. You step from the crisp outdoor air into the low-ceilinged parlour of the Shakespeare family home, where a new array of sensory experiences awaits. The biting cold still lingers near the unheated stone walls, but a pervasive, comforting warmth emanates from the open hearth, where a small fire crackles, sending plumes of wood smoke curling up towards the chimney. The air now carries the rich, savoury scent of a simmering pottage, a thick stew, likely made with root vegetables and perhaps a scrap of salted meat, a typical evening meal in a Tudor household. The room is dimly lit, the primary source of illumination coming from a few flickering rushlights. These simple, essential lights are made from dried rushes, stripped of their outer peel, and soaked in animal fat or grease. You can see their small, yellowish flames dancing, casting soft, shifting shadows across the whitewashed plaster walls and the rough-hewn oak furniture. There are no delicate sconces or glass lamps here. This is practical, hard-won light. The glow touches the faces of Mary Shakespeare and her children, gathered for their evening meal, their forms blurred at the edges by the encroaching darkness. Young William, perhaps distracted by the fire's dance, sits quietly, observing. You take in the modest domestic scene, a long sturdy table, benches rather than chairs, and perhaps a wooden chest serving as both storage and extra seating. Privacy as we understand it today is a luxury unknown. Life unfolds communally, chores and leisure blending within these few rooms. The textiles are rough, durable wool and linen, designed for warmth and longevity, not comfort. The simple, well-used pewter plates and wooden trenchers, shallow platters used for serving food, reflect the family's respectable but not extravagant status. As the family shares their meal, perhaps reciting a prayer before eating, you are reminded of the fundamental human need for sustenance, warmth and kinship. This humble evening ritual, repeated across countless English homes, forms the very fabric of daily life. For a young boy like William, these moments are not just routines but observations. He learns the nuances of human emotion played out in the intimate, unvarnished setting of his own home. The expressions of love, frustration, the simple comforts, and unspoken tensions, all these details, illuminated by the guttering rushlight, are absorbed. Later, as the pottage bowls are cleared and the children are bundled off to their shared beds, you reflect on how such ordinary moments, steeped in the sensory realities of his era, might have imprinted themselves upon the mind of a future poet. What subtle truths about human nature, about the delicate balance between appearance and reality, might have been observed in these quiet Stratford evenings. These are the foundational experiences that would, perhaps, one day, lend depth and hidden layers to characters and verses that continue to intrigue us, centuries later, echoing the very real, and sometimes unspoken complexities of the human heart. You find yourself jostled by a vibrant, pulsating crowd, drawn into the heart of London's Cheapside Market on a bustling midday in 1609. The very air here feels alive, a chaotic symphony of human voices, and the rich tapestry of Elizabethan street life. Sunlight, sharp and clear on this autumn day, struggles to reach the narrow street, often swallowed by the overhanging gables of timber-framed houses that loom 4 or 5 stories high. Your senses are immediately overwhelmed, the cacophony of street criers shouting their wares, hot pies, what do you lack, sir?" mixes with the distant clang of blacksmiths and the rumble of cart wheels over cobblestones. A rich, exotic current of scent washes over you. This is not the homely smell of malt or leather from a Stratford workshop, but the heady perfume of imported spices from distant lands, pungent pepper, sweet cinnamon, fragrant cloves, emanating from the grocers' stalls. But this alluring aroma is never far from the sharp tang of fish from Billingsgate, the earthy smell of fresh produce, and the unavoidable, ever-present effluvium of the streets themselves, a pungent reminder of London's rudimentary sanitation. You carefully step around a narrow gully channel in the centre of the thoroughfare, where domestic waste flows openly, a common sight in this bustling metropolis. You are pressed by a continuous stream of humanity, apprentices in their distinctive blue coats rushing on errands, wealthy merchants in their sober yet expensive doublets, and fine ladies, attended by their servants, carefully navigating the throng. Their silks and furs stand in stark contrast to the coarse woolens of the working folk. Goods are piled high on open trestle tables, glistening cuts of meat from the butchers, fresh loaves from the bakers, delicate ribbons and laces from the mercers, dealers in fine fabrics, whose shops line the upper reaches of this storied street. Shakespeare himself, living and working in London during this very year, would have walked these same crowded streets many times. Imagine him, a man now in his mid-40s, observing the kaleidoscope of human nature unfolding around him. He sees the cunning merchant, the earnest apprentice, the fleeting glance of a beauty, the disguised desperation in a face. Here, just a short walk away, is Stationers' Hall, where the books of London's publishers are registered. It is here that, perhaps unbeknownst to him or against his wishes, a collection of his own poems, his sonnets, would be entered for publication in this very year, 1609, emerging from the city's clamour into the public eye. In this vibrant, often overwhelming marketplace, where identities can be both public and fleeting, and where the true worth of things is often debated, you feel the raw pulse of human endeavour. It is a world of open secrets and hidden intentions, a place where appearances are paramount, yet beneath the surface, profound truths lie waiting to be discovered. It's a stage as grand and complex as any play, offering endless inspiration for a poet gifted at seeing beyond the visible, much like the hidden layers that would forever shroud his enigmatic sonnets. As 4 o'clock approaches on this autumn afternoon in 1609, the vibrant clamour of Cheapside begins to recede, but London's pulse continues. You find yourself navigating one of the city's narrower thoroughfares, a labyrinth of twisting lanes where the towering timber-framed houses lean precariously overhead, their upper stories sometimes almost touching across the street. This architectural style, with each floor overhanging the one below, is known as jettied construction, and it creates a perpetual twilight even in the middle of the day. Now, with the sun already low in the sky, these shadowy canyons grow deeper, a stark contrast to the open skies of the countryside. The air here feels different too, carrying the damp chill that perpetually clings to London's stone and timber. The mixed sense of wood smoke from countless hearths, damp earth, and human activity are more concentrated. You hear the rhythmic clatter of distant hooves and the muted cries of a final few street vendors, their voices fading into the encroaching dusk. The quality of light here is muted, a soft, diffuse glow that makes every shadow seem to deepen, every corner hold a secret. You can almost feel the weight of centuries of footsteps on the uneven cobblestones beneath your worn shoes. This is a London that Shakespeare knew intimately, a city of stark contrasts, where the opulence of court and grand houses existed mere steps away from poverty and cramped living conditions. Imagine the poet, perhaps walking these very lanes on his way home from the Globe or Blackfriars Theatre. What thoughts might drift through his mind as he passes by these shadowed doorways and heavily curtained windows? These are the places where plots could be hatched, secrets whispered, and clandestine meetings held. The very architecture seems to invite hidden meanings, with its nooks and crannies, its layers of overhanging floors, suggesting concealed spaces and private lives, lived beneath a public gaze. It's in these very shadows, perhaps, that the complex, often controversial, meanings in his sonnets begin to take shape. The city itself, with its layers of existence and its requirement for discreet manoeuvring, mirrors the subtle encoding of personal truths that many scholars now suggest is embedded within his most intimate verse. The sonnets, after all, were published in this very year, 1609, emerging from London's printing presses with a cryptic dedication and a host of unanswered questions. As the last vestiges of daylight fade, and the first scattered rushlights begin to appear in windows overhead, you sense the city preparing for night. The narrow lanes, once bustling, grow quieter, their secrets more potent. It's a moment of transition, where the external world gives way to internal contemplation, a perfect echo of how Shakespeare's sonnets invite us to peer beyond the obvious, into the deliberate ambiguities and concealed narratives that have captivated minds for centuries. What personal confessions, what coded messages might Shakespeare have hidden in plain sight, much like the concealed lives behind these shadowy Elizabethan walls? You are seated in a wherry, a small, light rowing boat, essential for navigating London's bustling Thames in the year 1600. It's high tide, and the powerful river currents are momentarily tamed, allowing for a safer passage beneath the monumental London Bridge. You feel the gentle rhythmic pull of the wherryman's oars, a steady creak splash that lulls you into the moment. The air is cool and damp with the river's breath, carrying the faint, briny scent of the tidal Thames, mingled with the distant wood smoke from the city's many hearths. Above you, London Bridge itself is a wonder, a bustling street of timber-framed houses and shops spanning the river. From your low vantage point on the water, you peer up at its formidable stone arches, built centuries ago, now darkened by time and river spray. The very foundations of the bridge, the starlings, massive defensive structures around the piers, usually create dangerous rapids, but at high tide, the water cushions their ferocity, making your journey smoother. You can just make out the muffled sounds of life from above, the distant rumble of carts, the chatter of merchants, the faint cries of children playing in the shadowed lanes atop the bridge. The wherryman, a man with powerful forearms and a keen eye, deftly maneuvers the boat through one of the narrow arches. He is part of a fraternity of skilled watermen who know every twist and turn of this watery highway, seeing beyond the visible surface of the river to understand its hidden dangers and opportunities. His quiet competence is a reminder that much of London's life, both seen and unseen, unfolds on and around the Thames. This river is not just a boundary, but the city's pulsing artery, carrying goods and people, stories and secrets. As your small boat glides past the massive stone piers, you observe the rich textures of the weathered stone and ancient wood, stained by centuries of river flow. The intricate, almost haphazard placement of the houses on the bridge, each one a testament to human ambition and resilience, seems to whisper tales of lives lived in precarious balance. Just as these buildings on the bridge present a bustling facade, concealing the complex substructures beneath, Shakespeare's sonnets, published less than a decade from now, would similarly offer layers of meaning. On the surface, beautiful verses; underneath, a labyrinth of personal confessions, coded messages, and deliberate ambiguities that continue to mystify scholars. The river carries you onward, reflecting the sky in a shifting tapestry of light and shadow. It is a world of constant motion and change, much like the human heart itself. And in the very act of navigating these waters, seeing the city from a new perspective, you realize how many truths lie just beneath the surface, waiting for the discerning eye to uncover them. This, in essence, is the enduring invitation of the sonnets, to look closer, to delve deeper, and to find the hidden currents that flow beneath their exquisite poetry. The wherryman deposits you at Queenhithe, a bustling dock along the Thames, as dusk begins to paint the London sky in deep purples and oranges in the year 1600. The earlier river currents have now quieted, but a different kind of energy pulsates here. You step onto the rough, damp wooden planks of the quay, a vital artery for London's commerce. The air, heavy with the river's coolness, is now also saturated with the intoxicating sweet and sour scent of wine, mingling with the earthy smell of wet timber, and the faint, lingering odor of tar from the ships. Huge, rotund barrels are being carefully rolled down gangplanks from a cargo ship, its sails furled, its hull dark against the deepening twilight. These are likely hogsheads of French claret, a prized import for the wealthier households and nobility of Elizabethan England. The shouts of the stevedores, the men who load and unload cargo, echo across the water, their grunts of effort punctuating the rhythmic creak of ropes and the splash of barrels settling onto the cobbled dockside. Their faces, beaded with sweat, are illuminated by the flickering glow of a few horn lanterns, their light struggling against the encroaching darkness. You observe the sheer physical labor, a testament to the era's reliance on human strength. Each barrel represents not just a quantity of wine, but a journey across the channel, a transaction, and ultimately, a pleasure for those who could afford such luxuries. This imported wine, unlike the local small beer, was a symbol of status and sophistication, much like the finely crafted verse that coursed through the literary circles of London. Shakespeare himself, a playwright whose works often graced the tables of these very noble patrons, would have understood the value of imported goods, both material and artistic. His sonnets, many circulating in manuscript long before their controversial publication in 1609, were also a kind of precious cargo, full of deeply personal sentiments, often intended for a select few. The dedication to Mr. W.H., whose identity remains a compelling puzzle, suggests a patron, a begetter, who, like the merchant of this wine, brought these treasures to light, albeit in a cryptic fashion. As the last barrels are winched ashore, and the lanterns cast longer, dancing shadows, you contemplate the hidden depths within these casks of wine, the rich flavors and histories contained within their wooden staves. Similarly, the sonnets, with their layers of ambiguity and coded references to the fair youth, the dark lady and rival poets, are vessels themselves. They carry not merely words, but emotions, secrets, and perhaps even dangerous truths that Shakespeare intentionally concealed. What complex vintage of experience, what hidden passions, what delicate balance of art and life lies bottled within those 154 verses, waiting for each new generation to unseal and explore. You are standing on a gently rolling hillside, in the picturesque Cotswold Hills, enveloped in the quiet solitude of a shepherd's life in 1585. The air is crisp and clean, carrying the earthy scent of damp grass and distant wood smoke. Above you, the sky stretches wide and open, a vast canopy of pale blue that feels infinitely distant from the crowded lanes of London. The only sounds are the soft bleating of sheep, the rustling of the wind through the tall fescue grass, and the occasional sharp bark of a shepherd's dog, ever vigilant. The shepherd, a stoic figure wrapped in thick woolens, moves with a calm deliberation, born of years spent tending his flock. His hands are calloused, his face weathered by sun and wind, bearing the marks of a life lived outdoors. You can almost feel the texture of the rough, undyed wool of his cloak against your own skin, providing essential warmth against the unpredictable English weather. Wool, after all, is the backbone of England's economy, a commodity known as the golden fleece, providing wealth and employment from the fields to the looms. You watch as he expertly guides his flock, moving them from one patch of pasture to another. The sheep, their fleeces heavy and laden with dirt and burrs, move sluggishly, their collective presence creating a soft, rhythmic thudding on the uneven ground. This is the raw material that fuels the textile industry, providing the wool that would be shorn, cleaned, spun, and woven into the clothing worn by all social strata, from the humblest peasant to the Queen herself. John Shakespeare, William's father, dealt in wool himself, connecting the family to this foundational aspect of the English economy. This pastoral setting, often romanticized in Renaissance poetry, holds a profound connection to Shakespeare's world. He draws on images of nature, flocks, and the passage of seasons throughout his works, including his sonnets. The shepherd's solitary vigil, his deep connection to the natural cycles of life and death, birth and decay, resonate with the timeless themes of time, mortality, and the fleeting beauty of youth that Shakespeare explores so poignantly in verses like Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? The shepherd's daily existence is a quiet meditation on these universal truths. As the sun begins its slow descent, painting the distant hills in shades of gold and russet, you feel a sense of profound peace. This humble, unadorned life, steeped in the natural world, is a powerful counterpoint to the complexities of court and city. It's a reminder that beneath the grand narratives of politics and power, the human spirit grapples with the same fundamental questions about life, beauty, and legacy. And it's this deep well of shared human experience, drawn from all corners of Elizabethan England, that Shakespeare taps into, encoding these universal sentiments into his verses, in ways that defy simple explanation, inviting us to find the hidden truths within their timeless beauty. You step into the cavernous, earthy warmth of a Warwickshire barn, transformed for the annual harvest home supper in the year 1585. The air, though still carrying the dry, sweet scent of stored hay and generations of animal presence, is now richly infused with the delicious aroma of roasted meats, perhaps a whole pig or goose, and freshly baked bread, a testament to a bountiful harvest. The raw, chilly dampness of the evening outside is held at bay by a roaring bonfire, or perhaps several large brazier fires crackling cheerfully in the center of the vast space, sending sparks dancing upwards into the gloom of the high rafters. The barn pulses with joyous sound. The lively, rhythmic tunes of a fiddle and a pipe encourage spirited dancing, while bursts of laughter and hearty conversation echo off the wooden beams. It is a scene of communal relief and celebration after months of arduous labor in the fields. Long, rough-hewn tables are laden with food, where farmers and their families, servants and laborers all gather as equals for this one night. You are handed a sturdy trencher, a wooden plate, often with a slight hollow, piled high with roast meat and thick slices of bread, and a tankard of strong home-brewed ale, richer than the small beer drunk daily, warming you from the inside out. Children dart through the legs of the adults, their faces flushed with excitement, while older folk share stories by the firelight, their voices deep and resonant. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows across faces, highlighting expressions of contentment, exhaustion, and camaraderie. This is the heart of rural English life, where community bonds are forged through shared work and celebration, an essential rhythm of life, far removed from the courtly intrigues of London. Young William Shakespeare, still relatively new to the London stage but certainly no stranger to Stratford's countryside, would have participated in such celebrations, understanding their profound importance. These were the gatherings where the fleeting nature of the seasons met the enduring spirit of human resilience. The joy, the temporary abundance, the songs and stories shared, all these contributed to his understanding of memory, tradition, and the human desire to preserve what is beautiful and beloved against the inevitable march of time. As the fiddles play on and the fire glows, you sense the quiet contentment in the barn, a deep satisfaction that comes from collective effort and shared reward. It is a moment of unvarnished humanity, where the public display of communal joy also holds countless private reflections and unspoken gratitude. What truths about the fleeting nature of youth and beauty, the enduring power of connection, and the desire to leave a lasting mark might have been observed by a young poet in such a setting? These are the enduring sentiments that Shakespeare's sonnets would later wrestle with, often with a deliberate ambiguity that continues to invite us to seek the hidden layers beneath the surface of his exquisitely crafted words. It's a sweltering July afternoon in 1605, and you are positioned within the bustling close confines of the Tiring House, the backstage area of the Globe Theatre on Bankside. The air is thick and heavy, a potent mix of human sweat, the slightly acrid tang of lamp oil, and the curious, sweet scent of grease paint and flour dust used for makeup. From just beyond the thin wooden partition, the muffled roar of the crowd, the groundlings standing in the yard below, washes over you like a distant tide, a living, breathing entity awaiting the rise of the curtain. You observe the actors, fellow members of the King's Men, preparing for the day's performance. Their movements are practiced, efficient, as they pull on richly embroidered doublets, fitted jackets, and gowns made of heavy velvets and silks, even in this oppressive heat. There's a nervous energy, a palpable hum of anticipation that crackles in the air. Young men, mere boys, are carefully having their faces powdered, their hair arranged beneath wigs, transforming into the heroines and older women of the play. Their earnest concentration, as they practice a feminine gesture or soften their voices, is a striking example of the artifice required for the stage. This practice, boys playing women, adds another fascinating layer of gender fluidity to the theatrical world, an ambiguity that might also subtly echo in verses such as Sonnet 20, with its enigmatic master-mistress. From a narrow opening you steal a glance at the vast open-air theatre. The brilliant July sun streams down onto the stage, illuminating the weathered timber and the sea of faces below. Every social class is represented. The raucous groundlings jostling for position, the prosperous merchants in the middle galleries, and perhaps even a nobleman or two in the private boxes, known as gentlemen's rooms, overlooking the stage. It is a world of illusion, where painted words and elaborate costumes create a reality that is both intensely felt and entirely constructed. Shakespeare himself, a seasoned actor and the resident playwright for this company, understands this interplay of appearance and reality, perhaps more deeply than anyone. He knows how truths can be veiled in metaphor, how emotions can be exaggerated for effect, or how profound feelings might be whispered in a seemingly casual aside. His own sonnets, a collection of profoundly personal and often controversial verses, were likely circulating in manuscript amongst friends and patrons around this time, almost 4 years before their eventual, perhaps unauthorized, publication in 1609. The very act of performing, of crafting characters and narratives, might have informed his decision to encode or deliberately obscure the true identities and autobiographical confessions within his most intimate poetry. As the trumpet sounds for the play to begin, signaling your entrance, you feel the thrilling tension of stepping from the hidden depths of the tiring house into the dazzling, exposed light of the stage. Here, in this world of meticulously crafted illusion, you sense the powerful connection to the sonnets themselves, a brilliant public performance of emotion, perhaps concealing private truths that were too dangerous or vulnerable to reveal openly, leaving scholars to endlessly seek the authentic self behind the masterful art. The vibrant energy of the Globe Theatre shifts as you step into the yard, or pit, for just a single shilling, finding yourself amidst a sprawling mass of humanity on this July afternoon in 1605. Above you, the open sky is a brilliant blue, but down here, pressed shoulder to shoulder, with hundreds of other groundlings, the air is a thick tapestry of human warmth, stale ale, and the earthy, trampled scent of rushes, mixed with dust and sweat. The roar from the tiring house has now become a direct, boisterous clamour all around you, a cacophony of chatter, laughter, and the hawkers' cries selling their wares. Oranges, ale and nuts, all mingling with the actors, booming voices drifting from the sunlit stage. You feel the rough woolen jerkin of a fellow spectator brush against your arm, and the sticky warmth of the wooden railing you lean on for support. Reaching into your purse, you purchase a small beer from a passing vendor. Its slightly bitter, yeasty taste, a welcome refreshment in the heat, and a small bag of hazelnuts. The satisfying crack of their shells, and the sweet, rich taste of the nut kernel, is a simple pleasure, shared by almost everyone around you. You chew slowly, tossing the discarded shells onto the ground, where they join countless others, adding to the crunch and scent underfoot. This is democracy in action, a shared experience where noblemen in their private boxes and humble apprentices alike are transported by the same story. From your vantage point you watch the play unfold, the actors, movements larger than life, their voices carrying clearly across the yard. You can clearly see the boy actors, their carefully painted faces and elaborate gowns embodying the female characters. Their artifice is obvious, yet the illusion is compelling, drawing you deeper into the narrative. You might occasionally crane your neck to catch a glimpse of Shakespeare himself, perhaps standing by the side of the stage, or even playing a small role, observing his audience as keenly as they observe his play. This immediate visceral experience of the theatre, where reactions are loud and uninhibited, stands in intriguing contrast to the quiet, introspective world of poetry. The Sonnets, soon to be published in 1609, offer a different kind of public performance, one steeped in enigma, where Mr. W.H., the fair youth, and the dark lady remain deliberately shrouded. The truths spoken on stage are often direct, if disguised by character. In the sonnets, however, the truths are often encoded, hidden in plain sight, much like the subtle personal details that a seasoned playwright might weave into a seemingly impersonal tale. As the sun begins its slow descent, lengthening the shadows on the stage, you feel a deep connection to this moment, a collective human experience of joy, sorrow, and contemplation. This bustling theatre, a canvas for both obvious and subtle narratives, is a powerful reminder that Shakespeare, master of both public spectacle and intimate verse, understood the intricate dance between what is revealed and what is carefully concealed. What secrets, then, lie nestled within the elegant verses of his sonnets, awaiting a reader as discerning as a groundling who can glimpse both the play and the profound human truths it silently expresses? It is a brisk morning in 1609, and you step into a bustling printer's shop near St. Paul's Churchyard, the heart of London's literary world. The air is immediately pungent, a unique blend of sharp, oily ink, the earthy smell of damp paper, and a faint, sweetish odor of tallow, rendered animal fat, used to grease the presses and for candles. The pervasive aroma speaks of industrious labor, a tangible sense of words taking physical form. The rhythmic thump-thump asterisk of the heavy wooden press, worked by two muscular men, reverberates through the floorboards, a powerful heartbeat in this den of creation. You observe the scene. Apprentices, their fingers stained black with ink, swiftly lay sheets of paper onto the type. A journeyman, his brow furrowed in concentration, meticulously arranges individual lead types into lines, carefully piecing together the words that will soon fill pages. Each letter is picked by hand, a slow and exacting process that underscores the sheer effort involved in producing a single book. The light is dim, filtered through small, grimy panes of glass, and augmented by flickering tallow candles, their small flames dancing and casting shifting shadows on the stacks of unbound sheets and wooden frames holding the type. This is the very world that would bring Shakespeare's sonnets to print this year. The publisher, Thomas Thorpe, a figure of some notoriety, is likely overseeing the operation, perhaps chatting with a bookseller who has just stepped in from the chill morning air. The decision to publish the sonnets was Thorpe's, and whether Shakespeare authorized it, or even knew about it, remains one of the enduring mysteries. The cryptic dedication to Mr. W.H., the only begetter, is also Thorpe's addition, a puzzle that has tantalized scholars for centuries, suggesting a hidden story behind the publication. As you watch the painstaking process, you consider the act of transferring intimate, often provocative, verse from manuscript to printed page. How much control did an author like Shakespeare have over this transformation? His plays were performed to thousands, but these sonnets were private, circulated among a select few. The shift from whispered verse to public print changes everything, making secrets available to all, albeit perhaps in a coded form. The physical labor of setting type and pressing paper belies the intellectual and emotional complexity of the words being immortalized. The rhythmic thump-thump asterisk continues, a testament to the enduring power of the printed word to capture and transmit ideas, even those deliberately shrouded in ambiguity. What truths, too dangerous or personal for direct statement, might Shakespeare have entrusted to this printing house, knowing that the public eye would be far less discerning than the private ear of a trusted patron? The physical reality of this busy shop, full of ordinary labor, becomes a profound metaphor for the effort of decoding the extraordinary mysteries embedded within Shakespeare's sonnets, whose pages, once fresh with this very ink, continue to beckon us into their depths. It is the same brisk morning in 1609, and from the printer's shop near St. Paul's, you are now drawn by a new rhythmic sound, the insistent clack-clack THWIP asterisk of a shuttle within a weaver's workshop. You step inside, feeling the slight vibration of the wooden floorboards beneath your feet, a constant hum accompanying the rhythmic dance of the loom. The air here is distinct, carrying the dry, slightly lanolin scent of wool and the faint, starchy smell of sizing, a preparation applied to threads to make them stronger for weaving. You watch an apprentice, his movements precise and practiced, sitting before a large wooden handloom. His hands guide the shuttle, a small boat-shaped tool carrying the weft thread, swiftly across the taut warp threads, the long vertical strands already stretched on the loom. With each pass, he pulls a heavy wooden beater forward with a resounding thwack asterisk, compacting the newly laid weft into the emerging fabric. It's a mesmerizing process, where individual threads, some dyed vibrant colors, some plain, are meticulously interlaced, one by one, to create a coherent whole, a length of sturdy fustian perhaps, or a finer wool cloth for a doublet. The light, once again, is subdued, reflecting off the pale, raw threads, and augmented by small, flickering rushlights hanging near the loom. Despite the mechanical rhythm, there's a meditative quality to the work, a steady, unyielding progression. Each thread, though seemingly simple, contributes to the overall strength and pattern of the cloth. Yet, within the intricate design, a clever weaver might subtly embed variations, slight shifts in color or texture, creating hidden nuances visible only to the most discerning eye. Consider Shakespeare himself, a master weaver of words, at work on his sonnets around this very period, before their publication in 1609. Just as the apprentice combines disparate threads into a patterned fabric, Shakespeare interwove his observations on love, time and beauty into 154 sonnets. Each line, each metaphor is like a single thread. On the surface, the fabric of the sonnets is beautiful, a testament to poetic craft. But beneath, scholars argue, lie intricate, deliberately concealed patterns, coded political messages, subtle allusions to controversial relationships, or hidden autobiographical clues about figures like the fair youth and the dark lady. As the shuttle flies back and forth, building layer upon layer of cloth, you reflect on how the visible structure of a thing can often conceal its deepest complexities. The loom's rhythmic clatter, the careful interlacing of threads, mirrors the poet's own deliberate construction of meaning, some of which may have been too dangerous or personal to reveal openly in a less tolerant age. What subtle variations in the poetic weave, what intricate patterns of ambiguity did Shakespeare intentionally embed in his sonnets, inviting us to look beyond the surface and discover the hidden truths spun into their very fabric. It is a crisp January evening in 1595. And you step from the chill London street into the private parlour of a prosperous merchant's house in the city, an immediate sanctuary of warmth and subdued elegance. The air is distinctively different from the raw outdoor cold. Here it is rich with the slightly sulphurous, smoky scent of a sea-coal fire, a common and affordable fuel source for Londoners, burning steadily in the hearth. This hearty warmth permeates the room, a luxurious comfort that speaks of means and stability. Your fingers brush against the soft yet substantial texture of a magnificent Flemish tapestry adorning one wall, its intricate woven scenes of mythological figures or pastoral landscapes absorbing sound and adding a layer of insulation against the winter chill. These elaborate tapestries, prized imports from the Low Countries, represent not only immense wealth but also a sophisticated artistic taste. The rich, deep dyes of the threads still retain their vibrancy in the glow of the firelight and the scattered beeswax candles, casting a warm golden ambience across the polished dark wood of the furniture. You take a seat on a cushioned stool near the hearth, feeling the comfortable heat radiate from the sea-coal's glowing embers. The subtle crackle and hiss of the fire are almost hypnotic, contrasting with the muffled sounds of the bustling city that barely penetrate these thick walls. Outside, the world is dark and cold. Inside, it is a haven of curated beauty and quiet contemplation. This is the world of Shakespeare's patrons, the wealthy and influential figures who might commission poems, support acting companies, and perhaps even exchange private manuscripts of verse. Imagine Shakespeare himself, a man now deeply established in London's theatrical scene, perhaps present in such a room, observing. He would notice the subtle intricacies of the tapestry, the layers of meaning woven into its fabric, just as he wove complex narratives into his plays and, more intimately, into his sonnets. The life of a merchant, dealing in visible goods, might seem straightforward, but beneath the surface lay a web of trust, risk, and often hidden contracts. Similarly, within this outwardly grand and comfortable setting, secrets could be harbored, and controversial ideas discussed in hushed tones. As the sea-coal fire continues its quiet glow, you realize how even in a place of such apparent comfort and refinement, deeper narratives and concealed truths exist. These tapestries, with their layers of threads and hidden stitches, offer a compelling parallel to Shakespeare's own sonnets, published later in 1609. On the surface, they present exquisite poetry, yet beneath, they are often interpreted as containing veiled references to scandalous affairs, homoerotic desires, or political allegories, case files of secrets too profound or dangerous for open declaration. What intimate confessions, what clandestine affections might have been spun into the very fabric of Shakespeare's most personal verses, much like the hidden depths within this elegant sheltering room. It is the deepest quiet of a pre-dawn hour in 1598, and you are nestled in a crowded Southwark lodging house. The air is heavy and still, thick with the shared breath of many sleeping bodies, the faint, lingering scent of extinguished rushlights, and the unmistakable, earthy smell of damp straw from mattresses and unwashed woolen blankets. Outside, the London night is cold and silent. Within, a profound, almost primal stillness hangs, broken only by the soft rhythmic sounds of breathing, an occasional rustle of straw, or a distant muffled snore. You lie on a modest cot, perhaps sharing it with another traveller or an unknown worker, a common practice in these bustling, economical accommodations. The darkness is absolute, pressing in around you, interrupted only by the faintest sliver of grey light that might promise the coming dawn through a small, grimy window pane. You can feel the rough weave of the heavy wool blanket against your skin, a meagre but necessary barrier against the pervasive chill that seeps through the thin timber walls. There is little privacy here. Lives are lived in close proximity, a stark contrast to the individual chambers we know today. Southwark, on the south bank of the Thames, exists outside the strict jurisdiction of the City of London, making it a hub for theatres, bear-baiting pits, and numerous lodging houses catering to actors, labourers, and those seeking cheap accommodation. Shakespeare himself, a man of increasing renown but still living among his fellow players, would have known such places well, perhaps even dwelling in one during his early London years. He understood this unique blend of anonymity and intense communal experience. The vulnerability of being so physically close to strangers, yet remaining emotionally guarded, would have been a daily reality. Consider how this shared, often anonymous existence in a lodging house mirrors the intricate dance of identity and concealment within Shakespeare's sonnets. These poems, many of which would eventually be published in 1609, speak of profound, often controversial personal relationships with the alluring dark lady, the mysterious fair youth, and the perplexing Mr. W.H. Yet, their specific identities remain deliberately obscured, much like the faces of those sleeping around you in the dim light. The public means, and public manners, mentioned in Sonnet 111, often interpreted as an actor's shame, could well reflect the tension between a public persona and the hidden depths of private feeling, a feeling exacerbated by such communal living. As the first faint streaks of grey light slowly begin to filter through the window, subtly revealing the rough textures of the room and the sleeping figures, you reflect on the human need for both connection and concealment. In this shared, vulnerable quiet before the world awakens, you sense the unspoken stories, the hidden dreams, and the deeply private emotions that reside within each soul. What truths, too intimate or too dangerous for the public gaze of Elizabethan society, might Shakespeare have carefully encoded in his sonnets, knowing that only a select few, and perhaps future generations, would be able to fully comprehend the profound confessions hidden within their beautiful, ambiguous verses. It is the darkest hour before dawn in the year 1603, and you descend into the cool, subterranean world of a baker's cellar in London. The narrow stone steps are worn smooth from generations of use, leading you into a space where the rhythm of human labor quietly underpins the bustling city above. The air immediately embraces you with the comforting, rich scent of fermenting yeast and freshly milled flour, damp and earthy from the cellar's stone walls, a stark contrast to the chilly, sharper air of the city streets. A single tallow lantern hung from a rough beam casts a warm, flickering circle of light that struggles to push back the deep shadows clinging to the corners of the cavernous room. Its gentle glow illuminates a baker, robust and dusted with flour, working rhythmically at a large wooden trough. His strong forearms churn and press a massive mass of dough, the steady thud-thud asterisk of his hands against the yielding mixture, echoing softly in the enclosed space. You can almost feel the springy, elastic texture of the dough beneath his powerful grasp, slowly transforming from a raw collection of ingredients into something supple and alive. This early morning ritual, conducted largely in darkness and isolation, is essential to the city's daily life. Bread, after all, is the staff of life, a fundamental necessity for every Elizabethan and Jacobean household, from the humblest apprentice to the wealthiest lord. The baker's cellar provides the consistent coolness required for yeast to work its magic slowly, developing the flavor and texture that makes good bread. It's a place of quiet creation, where raw materials are transformed through patience and skill into something nourishing and enduring. Imagine Shakespeare, perhaps not far from such a cellar, contemplating the hidden work of creation. Just as this hidden labor creates sustenance, so too do many believe Shakespeare's sonnets, though published in 1609, embody hidden efforts of creation, a personal baking of deep truths. The deliberate shaping of each sonnet, its precise meter and rhyme, is akin to the baker's careful kneading and forming of the dough. And like the essential, yet often unseen labor in this cellar, the meanings embedded within his sonnets often lie beneath the surface, only fully appreciated by those willing to delve deeper. As the baker continues his steady work, the rhythmic sounds and comforting smells of the cellar fill the quiet space. It's a powerful metaphor for the unacknowledged artistry that goes into crafting something profound. What truths did Shakespeare knead into his verses, perhaps too personal or controversial to declare openly in his public plays, leaving them to be slowly uncovered and appreciated by future generations, much like the satisfying reward of a perfectly baked loaf after its long, dark journey to perfection? It is the vibrant bustle of a grand manor house kitchen, late morning on a feast day in 1603, and you step into a world of controlled chaos. The sheer scale of the room, with its enormous hearth and towering spits, is immediately impressive. The air is thick and warm, a tantalizing blend of roasting meat, perhaps venison or beef, rich, pungent spices like nutmeg and cloves, and the sweet undercurrent of baking tarts. The rhythmic clatter asterisk of copper pots and pewter plates, the hiss asterisk of fat dripping into the roaring fire, and the constant murmur of voices creates a symphony of culinary preparation. Flames dance vigorously in the colossal hearth, casting a flickering, orange glow across the faces of the busy kitchen staff. You feel the intense heat radiating from the fire, a tangible warmth that presses against your cheeks. Apprentices, their foreheads gleaming with sweat, turn massive joints of meat on spits with practiced ease, ensuring even cooking. Scullions, the lowliest kitchen servants, scurry about, cleaning vegetables and scrubbing trenchers, the wooden plates used for serving. The head cook, or master cook, a figure of stern authority, barks orders, his movements precise, amidst the whirlwind of activity. Every element here speaks of abundance and hierarchy, of a world where lavish feasts are a display of status and patronage. This elaborate preparation is for the noble family and their esteemed guests, who will dine in the great hall upstairs. It is a performance of generosity, a carefully orchestrated presentation of wealth and influence. Shakespeare, a playwright often patronized by such noble families, understood this world intimately. He would have been keenly aware of the intricate social dance that unfolded in manor houses, where outward appearances often masked deeper currents of power, ambition, and secret desires. Consider the meticulous layering of flavors, the blending of sweet and savory in these Tudor dishes. This culinary artistry offers a powerful parallel to the complex, multi-layered nature of Shakespeare's sonnets, which were likely circulating in manuscript within these very noble households around this time, years before their controversial publication in 1609. Just as a dish can be seasoned to perfection, or even to obscure certain tastes, so too could verses be crafted to reveal some truths, while carefully concealing others. Though Brothers Fair Youth and Dark Lady of the Sonnets, enigmatic figures to this day, might have been real individuals known to these patrons, their identities veiled in poetic ambiguity. As the feast preparations reach their crescendo, the aroma of a freshly baked marchpane, an elaborate almond paste confection, wafts through the kitchen, a final flourish of artistry. You reflect on how such public displays of wealth and craft often hold private stories within their very creation. What unspoken passions, what forbidden allegiances, what secret loves might Shakespeare have so carefully kneaded into the rich, intricate fabric of his sonnets, much like the hidden depths of flavor in a seemingly simple feast, awaiting a discerning palate to uncover their full, profound meaning. It is a blustery November afternoon in 1596, and you find yourself pressed into the clamorous, earthy confines of the Bear Garden at Paris Garden in Southwark, just across the Thames from the City of London. The air is thick with the musky scent of animals, damp straw, and the pervasive aroma of ale and sweat from the packed crowd. Above, a watery autumn sun struggles to pierce the heavy clouds, casting a dull metallic light on the central pit. The roar of the crowd is immense, a visceral, guttural sound that vibrates through your very bones. This is not the refined applause of a theatre, but the raw, uninhibited enthusiasm of thousands gathered for a popular, if controversial, spectacle. In the center of the arena, a massive bear, its fur matted and dark, is chained to a stake. Around it, a pack of mastiffs, or common bandogs, large, fierce English dogs, bay furiously, their deep, throaty cries adding to the deafening cacophony. The very ground beneath your feet feels alive, with the stamping and shifting of the spectators. You are jostled by gentlemen and apprentices, by merchants and labourers, all united in their eager anticipation. The rough wooden railings feel splintered under your touch, testament to countless hands gripping them over the years. This crude yet thrilling form of entertainment draws vast numbers, even as it divides opinion among the more learned citizens. To some, it is a barbaric display, to others, a cherished tradition, a test of raw strength and primal instinct. Shakespeare, residing in London during this period, would have been acutely aware of the Bear Garden's existence, its boisterous crowds, often competing with his own Globe Theatre for audiences, just a short walk away. He, the master observer of human nature, would have seen the full spectrum of emotions on display here: excitement, fear, pity, and the sometimes unsettling pleasure drawn from spectacle. This public display of raw emotion, though overtly simple, held hidden complexities. The bear, confined and provoked, is forced into a performance that, while real, is also fundamentally manipulated. As the baying dogs lunge, and the bear lets out a frustrated growl, you consider how often in Elizabethan society, outward displays, whether of power, affection or entertainment, concealed deeper truths, and often uncomfortable realities. Just as the bear's true, wild nature is constrained and shaped for public consumption, so too might Shakespeare have carefully presented certain emotions and narratives in his sonnets, which would be published some 13 years later. He may have deliberately veiled their true, controversial meanings, the identities of the fair youth and dark lady, the nature of his own desires, beneath a surface of poetic convention, much like the careful staging of a spectacle. What authentic emotions, what dangerous confessions, might have been masked or transmuted for public view, just as the wild spirit of the bear is contained for the clamorous pleasure of the crowd. It is the vibrant dawn of a May Day morning in 1596, and you stand on a village green in rural Warwickshire, perhaps not far from Stratford-upon-Avon. The air is exquisitely fresh and cool, carrying the intoxicating sweet fragrance of hawthorn blossoms, often called May blossom, a symbol of spring and fertility. The scent mingles with the dewy smell of fresh grass, and a faint hint of wood smoke from distant hearths, where morning meals are being prepared. Above, the sky is a brilliant, hopeful blue, and the early sun, already strong, paints the dew-kissed fields in shimmering gold. The village green is already bustling with activity. At its center, stands a towering maypole, freshly cut and adorned with garlands of wildflowers and long, brightly colored ribbons. You can hear the cheerful rhythmic strains of a pipe and tabor, a small drum, along with laughter and excited chatter. Villagers, dressed in their finest, some wearing garlands of flowers in their hair, gather in anticipation. You feel the soft, cool texture of the morning grass beneath your feet as you watch young men and women begin to take their places around the maypole, each grasping a ribbon. This is a celebration deeply rooted in ancient pagan traditions, celebrating the rebirth of spring and the promise of fertility, woven seamlessly into the fabric of Elizabethan life. It's a time of joyous courtship rituals, where youthful beauty is openly admired and celebrated. As the music swells, the dancers begin to weave in and out, their ribbons crisscrossing and intertwining, slowly braiding a complex, colorful pattern around the maypole. It's a beautiful, intricate dance where individual efforts contribute to a communal artwork, each thread essential to the whole. Shakespeare, a man steeped in the rhythms of both country and city life, would have understood the profound social and emotional significance of such a day. The themes of youth, beauty, procreation, and the desire for life to continue and flourish are central to his early sonnets, particularly the procreation sonnets, 1 to 17. He encourages the fair youth to marry and have children, to leave his beauty imprinted on the world, much like the spring leaves themselves, before time withers them. The maypole dance, with its temporary yet exquisite beauty, reflects this same yearning for beauty to be passed on, even as the season itself is fleeting. As the dancers continue their joyful, intricate weave, the scent of hawthorn seems to deepen, a powerful reminder of nature's cyclical renewal. You reflect on the layers of meaning in this seemingly simple rural festivity. Beneath the overt joy and celebration of spring, there are subtle undercurrents of fleeting beauty, the unspoken pressures of social expectation, and the intricate dance of human connection. What lasting truths about the transient nature of beauty, the imperative of legacy, and the complex patterns of human desire might Shakespeare have woven into the exquisite, often ambiguous, verses of his sonnets, inviting us to look beyond the immediate spectacle and find the profound, hidden patterns of the human heart. It is a warm, dappled afternoon in the summer of 1601, and you are stepping into the ancient, sun-dappled expanse of the Forest of Arden in Warwickshire, a landscape intimately known to Shakespeare from his youth. The air here is rich and verdant, a complex tapestry of earthy dampness, the sweet perfume of wildflowers, and the sharp, invigorating scent of crushed wild herbs underfoot. Sunlight filters through the dense canopy of oak and beech trees in shimmering shafts, painting shifting patterns of light and shadow on the forest floor, creating a sense of quiet enchantment. You move slowly, carefully, your gaze sweeping across the vibrant green undergrowth, searching for specific simples, as herbs used for medicine and cooking were known. Your hands brush against cool, dewy leaves, feeling their varied textures, the soft velvet of mullein, the rough prickle of borage, the delicate lace of wild carrot. The only sounds are the gentle rustle of leaves in a light breeze, the distant, murmuring song of unseen birds, and the soft crunch of your own footsteps on leaf litter. This is a world of subtle secrets, where knowledge of the land is key to survival and well-being. Every plant holds a hidden purpose, a potent virtue, known only to those with discerning eyes and generations of learned wisdom. A humble violet, though beautiful, might also possess medicinal qualities. A seemingly ordinary fern could point towards deeper meanings, its fronds unfurling like ancient scrolls. This careful act of foraging is not merely gathering. It is a profound engagement with the hidden properties of the natural world, understanding that outward appearance often conceals potent, often life-altering capabilities. Shakespeare, who would later set his plays Try As You Like It in this very forest, understood that nature itself is a book filled with hidden meanings, and he drew deeply from this well of observation. Just as some plants are unassuming yet hold powerful cures, His sonnets, which were undoubtedly being polished and perfected around this time, contain layers of meaning that challenge simple surface readings. The beauty of a sonnet, like that of a wildflower, is evident, but its true power, its virtue, often lies in its deliberate ambiguities, its coded allusions to figures like the fair youth and the dark lady. As the afternoon sun dips lower, casting long, peaceful shadows through the trees, you hold a small bundle of freshly gathered herbs, their scents, a quiet testament to nature's bounty and its concealed powers. This serene act of seeking out hidden virtues in the wild perfectly mirrors the scholarly quest to uncover the enigmatic truths within Shakespeare's most intimate poetry. What potent, often controversial secrets did Shakespeare deliberately embed within the elegant verses of his sonnets, knowing that, like the hidden properties of these forest herbs, they would require careful observation and deep understanding to fully appreciate their profound and enduring impact? It is the quiet, ethereal hour of sunrise in 1601, and you are gliding almost silently across the glassy still waters of the fenlands in eastern England, seated in a long, shallow-bottomed punt. The air is exquisitely cool, damp with the breath of the water, and thick with the dense, pearly mist that hovers just above the surface, obscuring the reeds and distant horizons. The distinctive smell of damp earth, decaying plant matter, and fresh water is profound, filling your lungs with a sense of ancient stillness. The only sounds are the gentle asterisk, plish asterisk of the fenman's long pole, as he pushes it against the shallow bottom, propelling the punt forward, and the faint, distant cries of early morning marsh birds. The silence is immense, broken only by these subtle disturbances. You run your hand over the smooth, cool wood of the punt's side, feeling its steady, deliberate movement through the murky water. As the sun begins its slow ascent, the mist glows with a soft, diffused light, painting the water in shifting shades of silver and gold, revealing the dark, shadowy forms of reeds and sedges. The fenman, a figure of quiet purpose, navigates these labyrinthine waterways with an almost instinctual knowledge. His focus is entirely on the water beneath and around them, searching for the subtle signs of eels. Eels, a vital part of the Elizabethan and Jacobean diet, are notoriously elusive, preferring to hide in the muddy bottoms or among the dense root systems beneath the surface. He might be setting eel traps, wicker baskets designed to lure and capture the slippery creatures, or perhaps using a long, multi-pronged spear, a glaive, to probe the hidden depths for his quarry. Shakespeare, a master of observation, would have understood the quiet, patient work of the fenman. Just as the eels hide beneath the seemingly calm surface of the fens, so too do the deepest meanings and personal truths in his sonnets often lie deliberately hidden, veiled beneath elegant verse. Published just 8 years later, in 1609, these sonnets presented a puzzle to their first readers, with their enigmatic dedication to Mr. W.H., and their deeply personal, yet deliberately ambiguous, narratives of the fair youth and the dark lady. Like the fenman's hunt, understanding requires quiet contemplation, and a readiness to look beyond the surface. As the sun climbs higher, slowly burning off the last wisps of mist, you feel a profound sense of introspection. This world, where valuable life moves unseen beneath the surface, is a powerful metaphor for the hidden depths of human experience. What intimate confessions, what controversial loves, what dangerous truths did Shakespeare carefully conceal within the shimmering, often murky, waters of his sonnets, inviting us to become patient fenmen of meaning, forever seeking to uncover the elusive yet profound secrets that lie just beneath their beautiful poetic surfaces. It is the deepest, quietest hour of a London night in the plague year of 1603, and you are walking a lonely patrol as a watchman through the deserted, narrow streets. The air is unnaturally still, hushed by a silence that speaks volumes, broken only by the rhythmic, clip-clop asterisk of your own heavy boots on the damp cobblestones, and the distant chime of a bell marking another hour. The usual cacophony of London, The cries of street vendors, the rumble of carts, the laughter from taverns, has vanished, replaced by a pervasive sense of dread. The street lamps, meager and flickering, barely penetrate the profound darkness. Your breath plumes visibly in the cold, damp air, carrying the faint, unsettling scent of burning herbs, perhaps rosemary and frankincense, smouldering in braziers outside some doorways, a desperate attempt to purify the air against the invisible enemy. Every window along the timber-framed houses is tightly shuttered, dark and impenetrable, like eyes squeezed shut against a terrifying truth. You can almost feel the collective fear held within those quiet, sealed rooms. As you pass a particularly grim doorway, your lantern's weak light falls upon a stark red cross painted on the timber, accompanied by the chilling words, "Lord, have mercy upon us." This is a plague house, sealed by order, its inhabitants confined within, left to their fate. Your duty, grim and solitary, is to ensure no one enters or leaves, to enforce the desperate quarantine. It is a lonely task, fraught with personal risk, yet born of a communal desperation to survive. The fear of contagion makes every interaction, every passing shadow, a source of profound unease. Shakespeare, during this very period, experienced London's repeated plague closures, forcing his Globe Theatre to shut its doors, driving him and his company out of the city, or into periods of enforced idleness. This omnipresent threat of mortality and the isolation it wrought would have deeply influenced his reflections on life, beauty, and legacy. His sonnets, many circulating among friends and patrons around this time, echo these profound anxieties, grappling with the relentless march of time, the fleeting nature of youth, and the enduring power of verse to grant immortality. As in Sonnet 18, "So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee." As the night deepens, and the cold grips you tighter, you reflect on the hidden suffering behind these shuttered windows, the unspoken fears, the contained lives. This atmosphere of fear and isolation, where privacy becomes a matter of life and death, offers a powerful context for the veiled meanings in the sonnets. What personal confessions, what controversial loves, what dangerous truths might Shakespeare have deliberately encoded within his poetry, knowing that in such perilous times, ambiguity could be a form of protection, leaving us centuries later to wonder at the enduring secrets hidden within his profound verses. It is a raw, biting winter morning in 1603, and you are positioned uncomfortably in the village stocks on a busy market day, a form of public punishment and humiliation. The wood, rough and splintered, feels intensely cold against your ankles and wrists, chafing with every slight movement. The air, crisp and damp, carries the mingled scents of farm animals, fresh dung, and the robust aroma of baking bread and roasting meat from the bustling market around you. This is the public square, usually vibrant with commerce, now also a stage for your enforced stillness. The unrelenting clatter asterisk of wooden clogs and heavy boots on the frozen earth, the lively chatter of vendors, and the insistent bleating of sheep fill the air. Every sound feels amplified, every distant laugh seems directed at you. As the morning progresses, the thin winter sunlight, weak and watery, offers little warmth, only serving to highlight the expressions on the faces of the passers-by. You feel their gaze, a potent mix of curious stares, outright scorn, and perhaps a fleeting glance of pity from an old woman. Your ears pick up hushed whispers, fragmented comments, and the occasional outright jeer. This is public shaming, a deliberate exposure of perceived transgression for all to witness. The stocks, simple in their construction, are profoundly effective in their intent, to strip away dignity through vulnerability. You taste the dry, cold air on your tongue, and the faint, coppery tang of humiliation in your mouth. You understand, viscerally, the weight of public judgment, the feeling of being an open book for all to read, each person interpreting your situation through their own lens. Shakespeare, a man who famously wrote of reputation and public perception, would have known these instruments of punishment well. He understood the precariousness of one's standing, especially for someone in a Public means profession like acting, which was often viewed with suspicion or disdain. Sonnet 111, with its lines, "Oh, for my sake do you with fortune chide, the guilty goddess of my harmful deeds, that did not better for my life provide, than public means which public manners breeds," resonates deeply with this experience of public exposure, and the shame it could entail. It speaks to the burden of a life lived under scrutiny, where private actions can lead to very public consequences. As the day stretches on, and the cold seeps deeper into your bones, you reflect on the deliberate ambiguity of public spectacle. Each passerby sees what they choose to see: a rogue, a fool, a victim. This mirrors the enduring mystery of Shakespeare's sonnets, which, upon their publication in 1609, laid bare intimate verses for a public who could interpret them as they pleased. What scandalous affairs, what homoerotic passions, what personal struggles did Shakespeare wrestle with, knowing that any open declaration could expose him to such public scorn, leading him instead to encode these profound truths within layers of poetic mystery, forever inviting us to interpret the true face behind the veil. It is a bright, chilly morning in 1577, and you are stepping into the austere, echoing main room of the Stratford Grammar School, a place William Shakespeare himself would have known intimately as a boy. The air is cool and still, carrying the faint, dry scent of old parchment, dust, and seasoned timber. Sunlight, pale and clear, streams through the tall, mullioned windows, illuminating motes of dust dancing in the air and falling on rough-hewn wooden benches, worn smooth by generations of young scholars. You observe a young boy, perhaps 9 or 10, his hand resting tentatively on a small wooden hornbook. This is his primary textbook, a paddle-shaped piece of wood with a sheet of paper pasted onto it, covered by a thin, translucent layer of horn to protect the text. On this hornbook are printed the alphabet, the Lord's Prayer, and often Roman numerals. You can almost feel the smooth, cool horn under your fingertips. The texture, a familiar sensation for any Elizabethan child learning to read. The faint scratch asterisk of a quill on a slate is the loudest sound in the room, accompanied by the low drone of a master reciting Latin grammar. This is a world of rigorous academic discipline, where rote learning and classical texts, particularly Latin authors like Ovid and Seneca, form the bedrock of education. There are no colorful illustrations or engaging stories here. Learning is a serious, often demanding business. The schoolmaster, a stern figure, paces the front of the room, his voice unwavering as he drills his pupils in the complexities of grammar and rhetoric. You notice the precise, almost mathematical order of the letters on the hornbook, a foundational pattern for understanding language. Imagine young William Shakespeare, his sharp mind absorbing these linguistic structures, these classical narratives, and the very act of decoding hidden meanings within ancient texts. This early training in rhetoric, in the art of persuasion and subtle argumentation, would become profoundly evident in his later work, from the complex speeches in his plays to the intricate wordplay and double meanings woven into his sonnets. The very act of deciphering Latin syntax would prepare him for the deliberate ambiguities he would craft into his own English verse. As the morning progresses, and the gentle drone of lessons continues, you reflect on the powerful foundation laid in such a school. The simple hornbook, seemingly uncomplicated, holds the key to unlocking worlds of knowledge and expression. What intricate grammatical structures, what rhetorical flourishes, what deeply embedded puns and coded allusions did Shakespeare learn to master here, preparing him to construct the literary puzzles of his sonnets, which continue to challenge and enchant scholars centuries later, inviting us to delve into the hidden depths of his masterful language. It is a cool, crisp Sunday morning in 1577, and you step through the heavy oak door of the parish church in Stratford-upon-Avon, joining the villagers for morning service. The air within the ancient stone walls is immediately cooler than outside, imbued with the distinct, slightly damp scent of old stone, a faint sweetness of lingering beeswax from earlier candles, and the earthy presence of many gathered bodies. A soft, reverent murmur fills the space, a blend of hushed greetings, shuffling feet, and the rustle of woolen garments. Sunlight, pale and diffused, filters through the uncolored glass of the tall, arched windows, casting subdued patterns on the flagstone floor and the smooth, worn wood of the pews. You feel the cool, hard stone under your shoes as you make your way to a seat, observing the simple, unadorned interior, a testament to the Protestant Reformation that swept away much of the elaborate iconography and stained glass of earlier Catholic worship. The focus here is on the pulpit, where the minister will deliver his sermon, emphasizing the Word of God as dictated by the Book of Common Prayer. You take your place on a hard wooden bench, feeling the rough texture of the timber against your hand. The service begins with prayers and psalm singing, a communal drone of voices rising and falling. Young William Shakespeare, perhaps a boy of 13, would have sat in these very pews, his sharp mind absorbing not only the lessons, but also the rhythm and formality of the language. He would witness the public display of piety, a requirement for all citizens, even as some families, like his own, might have harbored private Catholic sympathies, a quiet, often hidden devotion in a conformist world. This subtle tension between outward appearance and inward belief would have been a foundational lesson. Consider how this public performance of faith, mandatory for every Englishman, could subtly mirror the intricate layers within Shakespeare's sonnets, which would be published some 3 decades later, in 1609. Were these poems purely literary exercises, or did they contain hidden truths, personal confessions, perhaps even veiled political or religious allegiances too dangerous to state openly? The ambiguity, the subtle use of pronouns, the seemingly conventional themes, all could serve as a protective veil, much like the outward conformity of worshippers in a post-Reformation church. What personal convictions, what controversial affections might Shakespeare have carefully encoded, presenting them to the world in a form that satisfied public expectation, yet held deeper meanings for a discerning few? As the minister's voice drones on, a steady, measured rhythm of faith and moral instruction, you reflect on the powerful, enduring nature of unspoken truths. In this solemn communal space, where every soul grapples with personal faith and public duty, you sense the delicate dance between what is revealed and what is concealed. And in the sonnets too, this dance continues, inviting us, centuries later, to listen closely to their murmurs and discover the profound, perhaps perilous, secrets that lie hidden in the heart of Shakespeare's masterful, ambiguous verse. It is a damp, overcast morning in 1593, and you are jolting along a deeply rutted, muddy road leading towards London, your senses immersed in the raw reality of Elizabethan travel. The air is cold and heavy, thick with the earthy scent of churned mud, damp straw, and the musky aroma of horses. Overhead, the sky is a uniform grey, pressing down on the wide, open landscape of fields and sparse woodlands. The constant squeal asterisk of the wagon wheels, grinding against the thick, sucking mud, sets a relentless rhythm to your journey. You are one of many wayfarers, travelling in the company of a small convoy of wagons and riders, a necessary precaution against the ever-present threat of highwaymen on these notoriously poorly maintained roads. The heavy woolen cloak you wear feels coarse against your skin, a meagre defence against the penetrating dampness. Your boots are caked in thick, greasy mud, and with every lurch of the wagon, you feel the spray of gritty water, a constant reminder of the arduous nature of the journey. The slow progress, often at walking pace, offers ample time for observation. Around you, other travellers trudge alongside their carts or ride their ponies, a farmer bringing produce to market, a peddler with his wares, perhaps even an aspiring actor or playwright drawn to the vibrant London stage. Their faces, weathered by exposure, are a canvas of quiet determination, reflecting the hardships and hopes of travel. Though you travel together, each person carries their own destination, their own hidden motives for embarking on this slow, uncertain passage. Shakespeare, a man who traversed these very roads between Stratford and London countless times, understood this journey both physically and metaphorically. The journey to the capital was often a leap of faith, a step into an unknown future filled with both promise and peril. Around this time, he was establishing himself as a playwright, and while his works were celebrated, his sonnets, which speak of a complex personal life, were largely kept private, circulating only amongst trusted friends and patrons. The muddy, obscured path, full of unexpected turns, can be a potent symbol for the cryptic nature of these poems. As the day wears on, and the light remains stubbornly dim, you reflect on the hidden depths within this shared human experience of travel. Each individual moving toward their own destiny carries a world of unspoken thoughts, concealed desires, and secret ambitions. What truths, too intimate or too controversial for open declaration, might Shakespeare have been contemplating on such a road, choosing instead to embed them within the carefully crafted, ambiguous verses of his sonnets, leaving them like treasures buried beneath a muddy road, awaiting a discerning eye to uncover their enduring, profound secrets. After a long, muddy journey to London in 1593, you find welcome respite in the warm, bustling common room of the Tabard Inn, a storied coaching inn in Southwark. The air is thick with the comforting aromas of roasting meat, stale pipe smoke, and the malty, yeasty scent of good English ale. Above the general din of conversation, the crackle and hiss of a massive log fire in the stone hearth provides a warm, inviting focal point, casting flickering shadows across the faces of the weary travellers gathered there. You feel the satisfying weight of a ceramic tankard in your hand. Its contents are rich, dark ale, slightly bitter but deeply refreshing. You sip slowly, savouring its earthy flavour, a welcome balm after the day's arduous travel. Around the hearth, a diverse company of travellers, much like those in Chaucer's tales, are settling in for the night. Merchants haggle softly over prices, pilgrims share stories of their journey, and a group of actors, perhaps members of the newly formed Lord Chamberlain's men, discuss their upcoming performance, their voices low and animated. The light in the room is warm but dim, provided by the roaring fire and a few scattered horn lanterns, their soft glow creating an intimate, convivial atmosphere. You sit on a sturdy wooden bench, feeling the smooth, worn surface of the timber, a testament to countless nights of storytelling and companionship. There is an unspoken understanding here, a shared camaraderie among those who journey. In this fleeting community, stories are exchanged, and truths perhaps embellished or concealed are woven into the fabric of the evening's entertainment. Shakespeare, by this time an established member of the London theatrical scene, would have known such inns intimately. These were places of transition, where people from all walks of life converged, sharing tales, anxieties, and ambitions. He would have observed the nuances of human interaction, the subtle ways identities are presented and perceptions are shaped. This public setting, where identities can be fluid and narratives are shared, yet personal truths remain guarded, offers a potent parallel to his sonnets. These poems, though published later in 1609, were likely perfected and shared in manuscript within such intimate, yet still public settings. As the fire gently crackles and the ale warms you, you reflect on the power of storytelling, to both reveal and conceal. The tales told by the hearth might be straightforward narratives, or they might be carefully constructed fictions, hinting at deeper, more controversial truths. What intimate confessions, what complex relationships, what dangerous political undertones might Shakespeare have chosen to embed within the seemingly simple verses of his sonnets, knowing that, like the stories told around this hearth, they could be savoured for their surface beauty, or carefully decoded for their profound, hidden meanings. The long night at the Tabard Inn whispers with such possibilities, inviting endless contemplation. It is a bright, blustery summer morning in 1599, and you are positioned on the crowded, muddy bank of the Thames on Bankside in Southwark. The air is alive with anticipation, carrying the brisk, briny scent of the river, mixed with the earthy smell of damp soil, and the collective warmth of hundreds of expectant Londoners. Overhead, the sky is a vast open canvas of shifting clouds, promising moments of sun that glint dazzlingly on the choppy waters. A distant murmur grows into a rising cheer, rippling through the throng as the Queen's royal barge appears upstream. You feel the constant pressure of bodies pressing around you, a palpable excitement humming through the crowd as everyone strains for a better view. The rough, uneven ground beneath your feet feels solid yet vibrantly alive with the shuffling and stamping of countless eager spectators. Suddenly, a fanfare of trumpets rings out, sharp and clear above the din, signalling the closer approach of the royal procession. Queen Elizabeth I, the monarch who has reigned for over 4 decades, is making one of her celebrated river progresses. Her ornate, gilded barge, gleaming with fresh paint and draped in rich crimson velvet, glides majestically through the water, propelled by dozens of uniformed oarsmen. You can just make out the sparkle of jewels on her person, a tiny, regal figure amidst the grandeur. Following close behind are numerous smaller wherries, filled with nobles and courtiers, their colourful attire a vibrant spectacle against the grey-green river. This is public theatre on the grandest scale, a deliberate display of power, majesty, and unwavering authority, designed to impress her subjects and remind them of her divine right to rule. Shakespeare, a man who, in this very year, was helping to construct his Globe Theatre just a stone's throw from this very spot, understood the profound power of such public displays. He would have observed the careful choreography, the deliberate artifice of royalty maintaining its image. This public performance, so carefully managed, would undoubtedly have influenced his own understanding of how appearances are crafted, and how truth can be both revealed and concealed within the layers of a public persona. As the Queen's barge sweeps past, its rich colours and the cheering crowd a blur of vivid sensation, you consider the complexities beneath this glittering surface. Just as the Queen presents an unyielding facade of strength, concealing her private worries or even her age, so too do Shakespeare's sonnets, many of which were likely being perfected around this very time, present a beautiful poetic surface. Yet beneath, scholars argue, lie layers of deliberately ambiguous meanings, the identity of Mr. W.H., the true nature of his affections for the fair youth, the passionate yet scandalous relationship with the dark lady. What personal truths, what potentially dangerous feelings, did Shakespeare choose to encode rather than openly declare, leaving us centuries later to wonder at the authentic heart beating beneath the grand public performance of his timeless verse? It is a cool, candlelit evening in 1599, and you step into the ornate drawing room of a powerful courtier's residence in Westminster, not far from the Queen's palace. The air is warm and rich, perfumed with the sweet, heavy scent of imported rosewater and civet, mingled with the faint aroma of beeswax candles burning steadily in elaborate silver sconces. The light is soft, a golden glow that catches the gleam of polished oak floors and the glint of jewels on the finely dressed figures moving silently through the room. You feel the luxurious, smooth slide of heavy silk and velvet fabrics as courtiers pass by, their clothes rustling with an almost hushed elegance. Every detail here speaks of immense wealth and meticulous presentation. Your hand might brush against the deep, soft pile of a Persian carpet, a treasure from distant lands. The very atmosphere is one of polite smiles and carefully chosen words, yet beneath the surface, you sense the constant hum of subtle competition and concealed intrigue. Whispers light as a feather seem to drift through the air, carried on the soft currents of warmth, hinting at alliances made or broken, at fortunes gained or lost. This is the heart of the Elizabethan courtly world, a place where status is everything, and appearances are meticulously maintained. Patronage, the system by which wealthy nobles supported artists, was crucial, and poets like Shakespeare often sought such connections. He, a successful playwright in this very year, would have been intimately familiar with such environments, perhaps performing his latest works for these very audiences. he would have observed the delicate dance between what was publicly displayed and what remained privately guarded. Consider how this environment, so dependent on veiled meanings and unspoken rules, might have shaped the poet's own approach to his art. The sonnets, many of which were likely circulating in manuscript within these very circles around this period, speak to intensely personal relationships, the fervent devotion to the fair youth, the passionate, troubled connection to the dark lady. Yet, their specific identities and the precise nature of these loves remain deliberately ambiguous, perhaps a necessity in an age where certain expressions of emotion, or allegiances, could carry significant social or even political risk. The rival poet, mentioned in the sonnets, also speaks to this world of vying for patronage and influence. As the evening progresses, and the soft light of the candles deepens the shadows, you reflect on the layers of meaning in this outwardly splendid, yet subtly tense, setting. The rustle of silk and the murmur of whispers become a powerful metaphor for the intricate beauty and concealed truths within Shakespeare's most intimate poetry. What deeply personal confessions, what controversial loves, what dangerous allegiances did Shakespeare choose to encode within the elegant verses of his sonnets, leaving them like delicate, silken puzzles, inviting us, centuries later, to decipher the hidden heart beating beneath the courtly facade. It is a raw, blustery morning in 1605, and you are kneeling by the edge of the River Fleet, a tributary flowing into the Thames, joining a laundress at her arduous task. The air is sharp and cold, carrying the damp, earthy scent of the riverbed mixed with the surprisingly harsh, almost chemical tang of lye, a strong alkaline solution made from wood ash. Overhead, a pale, watery sun struggles to burn through the persistent London mist, casting a diffused silver light on the churning water. Your hands, already chilled, plunge into the shockingly cold river water, causing a gasp to catch in your throat. You feel the rough texture of coarse linen and wool garments, heavy and sodden, as you begin the laborious process of scrubbing. The lye, though effective, bites at your exposed skin, leaving a dry, slightly tingling sensation. This is the hard, physical reality of cleanliness in Tudor London, a constant battle against grime, requiring immense effort and enduring discomfort. The rhythmic thump-thump-splash asterisk of the laundress beating clothes on a flat washing stone echoes the sounds of diligent labor. You watch her, her fingers red and chapped as she vigorously rubs and twists a large sheet, trying to dislodge stubborn dirt and stains. Every movement is purposeful, a testament to the sheer effort involved in maintaining a household's linens. The laundress might be cleaning garments from a wealthy city merchant, or perhaps even the everyday smocks and hose of Shakespeare's own company, the King's Men. Cleanliness in this era was an ongoing challenge, and garments, especially those worn close to the skin, would quickly become soiled, requiring this demanding process. Imagine Shakespeare, perhaps passing by such a scene on his way to the theatre. He, the great observer of human nature, would have understood the symbolic weight of stains, of things hidden beneath the surface, or of reputations tarnished. His sonnets, many circulating among friends and patrons around this time, grapple with the very idea of beauty and moral purity, and the difficulty of cleansing oneself from perceived wrongdoing. Sonnet 144, for instance, speaks of two loves I have of comfort and despair, a deeply entangled, morally ambiguous relationship that cannot be easily purified. As the sun slowly gains strength, gradually warming the air, you reflect on the ceaseless effort to make things clean, to reveal the true fabric beneath the grime. This daily labor, often unseen and unacknowledged, offers a poignant parallel to the enduring quest to decode Shakespeare's sonnets. What hidden stains of passion, what controversial truths, what complex moral ambiguities did Shakespeare so deliberately weave into his most intimate verses, knowing that, like the persistent marks on a well-worn garment, they would require careful, patient work to truly understand their profound, often unsettling, depths. It is a damp, chilling afternoon in 1605, and you are positioned low, peering out from behind the narrow, rusty bars of a debtor's grate in the notorious Clink prison located in Southwark. The air is heavy and stagnant, thick with the pervasive smell of human waste, unwashed bodies, and damp, crumbling stone walls, a constant, visceral reminder of your grim surroundings. Outside, beyond the iron, the distant, muffled sounds of Southwark life, the occasional rumble of a cart, a hawker's faint cry, seem like echoes from a world impossibly far away. Your fingers, cold and stiff, grip the rough, unyielding iron of the grate, worn smooth by countless desperate hands before yours. The stone wall behind you feels intensely cold and damp against your back, seeping into your very bones. Through the narrow opening, only a sliver of the outside world is visible. A patch of muddy lane, the blurry forms of passers-by, their faces often averted, sometimes glancing with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. The light is dim, even in the afternoon, barely penetrating the depths of the prison, casting long, oppressive shadows. The Clink, once a liberty of the Bishop of Winchester, was infamous, known for holding those unable to pay their debts and other minor offenders. Here, survival hinges on the meagre charity of strangers. You might hear the faint "do you notice" clink asterisk of a coin occasionally dropped onto the stone floor outside the grate, a rare moment of hope in a world defined by privation. You taste the dry, bitter tang of desperation in the back of your throat, a constant companion to the gnawing hunger. Shakespeare, residing in London and performing at the Globe, just a stone's throw from the Clink, would have known this grim reality. He understood the profound despair of debt and imprisonment, themes that subtly echo in his plays, and, more pointedly, in his sonnets. Sonnet 100.